I'm Madison Baker, 32 years old, and I never thought I'd be fighting my own family for my grandmother's inheritance. It started when I accidentally picked up my mother's phone and saw a group chat called Family Matters, No Maddie. My stomach dropped as I read messages about cutting me out of Grandma Catherine's will. The betrayal felt like a physical blow. As I scrolled through their scheming, my hands shook. Then I heard footsteps. My mother was coming. I dropped the phone. My world forever changed. Before I dive into this story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever dealt with family betrayal. Trust me, this roller coaster of family deception and redemption is one you won't want to miss. Family has always been complicated for me. My father, Richard, rules with an iron fist, successful businessman, community leader, and absolute tyrant at home. My mother, Diane, exists in his shadow, never contradicting him, always playing peacekeeper at the expense of truth. Then there's my brother, Nathan, the golden child who could do no wrong. He followed Dad into the family real estate business and married Amber, the perfect daughter-in-law from another wealthy family. My sister Rachel falls somewhere in the middle, the chameleon who changes allegiances depending on which way the wind blows. And then there's me, the black sheep. I broke family tradition by refusing to join Baker Properties, and instead pursued my passion for graphic design. I built my own successful business in Chicago, 3 hours away from my hometown of Milwaukee. Distance helped me maintain my sanity, but I always made time for the one person who truly understood me, my grandmother Catherine. Grandma Catherine was different from the rest of them. A former art professor with progressive views, she encouraged my creativity when my father dismissed it. Madison, she would say, never let anyone dim your light. She displayed my earliest designs in her study and funded my education when my parents refused. I was visiting my parents' house for my father's birthday dinner, an obligation I fulfilled twice yearly with gritted teeth. The tension around the dining table was palpable, but something felt different this time. Nathan and Rachel exchanged glances whenever I mentioned Grandma Catherine. My mother changed the subject abruptly when I asked how Grandma was doing. Dad barely acknowledged my existence, which wasn't unusual, but his smug expression whenever he looked at Nathan made me uneasy. I'll help clear the dishes, I offered after dessert, gathering plates while my family moved to the living room. In the kitchen, I noticed my mother's phone on the counter screen unlocked. I normally wouldn't snoop, but a notification caught my eye, a message from Nathan in a group chat I'd never seen before. Family Matters, No Maddie, the group was called. My hands trembled as I picked up the phone. The conversation spanned months. Nathan had written that morning, "Lawyer says we need to move quickly. Grandma's getting worse, and Madison might visit her soon." My father had replied, "I'll talk to Mom this weekend. She's confused enough that she'll believe whatever I tell her about Madison." My own mother had written, "Are we sure this is right? Madison loves Mom so much." Rachel, "It's not like she needs the money with her fancy design business. And Dad says the art collection should stay in the main family." Nathan, "Mom, we've been over this. Madison abandoned the family. She doesn't deserve the inheritance. Besides, with Grandma's condition, she'll never know the difference." My heart pounded as I scrolled further back, discovering that Grandma had been diagnosed with early-stage dementia, information my family had deliberately kept from me. Even worse, I learned Grandma had changed her will 2 years ago, leaving her valuable art collection and a significant portion of her estate to me. This had infuriated my father and brother, who had been systematically poisoning her mind against me while she was vulnerable. "What are you doing with my phone?" My mother's voice made me jump. I turned to face her phone still in hand. "There's a family group chat I'm not in," my voice cracked. "And you're all planning to cut me out of Grandma's will?" Her face paled. "You're misunderstanding, honey. It's just what Mom, a conspiracy to take advantage of Grandma's illness to steal what she wanted me to have." She snatched the phone from my hands. "You shouldn't read private conversations. Your father and Nathan are just concerned about your grandmother's assets staying with those committed to the family." When I returned to the living room, everyone fell silent. My father glared at my mother, who must have texted a warning. "Something wrong?" Nathan asked with fake concern. "I just found out Grandma's sick, and none of you told me," I said, my voice shaking. "And apparently, you've all been having family meetings without me." "Don't be dramatic," my father dismissed. "Mom's just getting older. Nothing for you to worry about from Chicago. We didn't want to bother you since you're so busy with your little design projects," Rachel added with faux sweetness. "And the group chat," I challenged. "Just for local family business," Nathan said smoothly. "You're hours away, so it didn't seem relevant to you." The gaslighting was so coordinated, I almost doubted what I'd seen with my own eyes. Almost. "I think I should go," I said, gathering my things. Always running away when things get uncomfortable, my father muttered just loud enough for everyone to hear. As I drove back to my apartment that night, tears blurred my vision. The family I was born into was plotting against me, and the only person who ever truly supported me. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. They had no idea who they were messing with. Back in my Chicago apartment, I couldn't sleep. The group chat messages played on repeat in my mind. By morning, I was exhausted and emotionally raw. I canceled my client meetings and sat staring at my phone, wondering what to do next. It rang, startling me. Stephanie, my best friend since college. "Hey, you never texted me after the dinner from hell. How bad was it?" Her cheerful voice was a lifeline. "Steph, you won't believe what happened." My voice broke as I told her everything. "Those snakes," she exclaimed when I finished. "But are you absolutely sure about what you read? Family inheritance stuff gets ugly, but this is next-level conspiracy." "I know what I saw," I insisted. "But you're right, I need more information." Stephanie went into problem-solving mode. "Who else in your family might tell you the truth?" I thought for a moment. "My cousin Jessica. She's always been straight with me, and she's close with Rachel." Jessica was my father's niece, never fully embraced by the inner circle, but invited to enough family functions to be in the know. I texted her asking to meet for coffee next time I was in Milwaukee. To my surprise, she suggested a video call that same afternoon. Her expression when she answered told me everything I needed to know. "You found out," she said, her eyes sympathetic. "So it's true. My last hope that I'd misunderstood evaporated." Jessica sighed. "I've wanted to tell you for months, but Rachel swore me to secrecy. Your grandmother changed her will about 2 years ago after your solo exhibition in Chicago. She was so proud of you, Madison. She decided to leave you her art collection and a substantial amount of money. And my family has been plotting to undo this." Jessica nodded. "Nathan found out first. He was helping her with some financial paperwork and saw the changes. He went ballistic, called your dad immediately. They've been working on her ever since." "What have they been telling her about me?" Jessica looked uncomfortable. "It started small. Comments about how you never visit even though they've been screening your calls and telling you Grandma was traveling whenever you tried. Then they escalated to making up stories." "What kind of stories?" My throat felt tight. "That you said her art collection was outdated and you'd probably sell it. That you complained about having to see her. Nathan even implied you only call her when you need money." Rage and hurt collided in my chest. "None of that is true. I love her so much." "I know," Jessica said softly. "For what it's worth, I don't think Rachel is fully on board. She goes along with Nathan because she's afraid of your dad." "When are they planning to have her sign the new will?" "Next month. They're waiting for her doctor to change her medication. Apparently, it makes her more compliant." Jessica looked disgusted. "Nathan's been handling her medical care, so he has influence over her doctor. Can you send me screenshots of the group chat Rachel must have shown you?" Jessica hesitated, then nodded. "Give me a minute." My phone buzzed with incoming messages. The screenshots confirmed everything and revealed more. My father had been the mastermind, playing on Grandma's occasional confusion to plant seeds of doubt about me for months. The latest messages discussed having papers ready for her to sign with Nathan, joking that what she doesn't know won't hurt her. I can't believe Dad would do this, I whispered. Your father, Jessica said carefully, has always resented how much Catherine favored you. This is his way of controlling her final wishes, just like he controls everything else. After ending the call with Jessica, I sat in silence, processing everything. Direct confrontation wouldn't work, they'd just close ranks. I needed to be smarter than them. I needed evidence. And most importantly, I needed to see my grandmother before it was too late. I opened my laptop and booked a flight to Milwaukee for the following morning. Then I called my assistant to clear my schedule for the next 2 weeks. Family emergency, I explained. That night I couldn't sleep. Instead, I made lists of what I knew, what I suspected, and what I needed to find out. By dawn, I had a plan. I wouldn't just expose their scheme. I would make sure Grandma Catherine knew exactly who really loved her and who was trying to manipulate her for their own gain. As my plane took off the next morning, I felt a strange calm. The hurt was still there, but now it was overshadowed by determination. They thought I was the family weakling they could push around. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The taxi dropped me at Grandma Catherine's sprawling Victorian house on Lake Drive. The familiar sight of her garden, now neglected, made my heart ache. I'd spent countless summer afternoons there sketching while she read poetry aloud. This was the home where I'd always felt safe. I used my key to enter, calling out, "Grandma, it's Madison." The sound of hurried footsteps came from the direction of the study, and Nathan appeared in the hallway, his face a mask of shock that quickly transformed into a false smile. "Madison, what a surprise! We had no idea you were coming." His voice was too loud, too cheerful. Rachel emerged behind him, her expression more genuinely startled. "Maddie, why didn't you tell anyone you were visiting?" "I wanted to surprise Grandma," I said pleasantly. "Where is she?" "She's resting," Nathan said quickly. "She's been having some difficult days. Maybe you should come back." "Nonsense," came a familiar voice. Grandma Catherine appeared at the top of the stairs, her silver hair in its usual neat bun, though she seemed thinner than I remembered. "Is that my Madison?" I rushed up to hug her, breathing in her familiar lavender scent. "Grandma, I've missed you so much." "What a wonderful surprise," she said, holding me at arm's length to look at me. There was momentary confusion in her eyes, then recognition bloomed. "My successful artist. Come tell me everything about your work." Nathan and Rachel exchanged glances as Grandma led me to her sunroom. I heard Nathan mutter to Rachel, "Call Dad." Now, alone with Grandma, I noticed changes. Her hands trembled slightly, and she sometimes lost her train of thought mid-sentence. But these moments passed, and her eyes would sharpen again. "Your father tells me you've been too busy to visit," she said, pouring tea. "He said you mentioned my art collection was becoming a burden to think about." My heart sank. "Grandma, that's absolutely not true. I've been trying to visit for months. Every time I called, they said you were away or not feeling well enough for visitors." She looked confused. "Away? I haven't traveled in over a year, dear." I took her hands in mine. "I would never, ever say your art collection was a burden. Your Kandinsky was what inspired me to become an artist, remember?" She squeezed my hands. "Yes, of course. I don't know why I would think. My memory isn't what it used to be, Madison." "It's not your memory, Grandma. I stopped hearing footsteps in the hallway. Let me help you with your medications. Are you due for any pills now?" She pointed to a pill organizer. "Nathan usually handles this. He's been so helpful with my medical care." I checked the organizer. The doses didn't match the prescription labels. Some pills were missing, others doubled. I took photos with my phone while Grandma was distracted by a bird at the feeder. Later that afternoon, I pretended to nap but positioned myself near the study where Nathan and Rachel were talking in hushed tones. I used my phone to record their conversation. "She's ruining everything," Nathan hissed. "Dad's furious. The lawyer is coming tomorrow with the papers." "Maybe we should wait," Rachel suggested. "Grandma seems more lucid with Madison around." "We can't wait. Do you know how much money we're talking about? The art collection alone is worth millions. Madison will sell it all and spend it on her bohemian lifestyle while we've been the ones taking care of Grandma." By taking care, you mean manipulating her medications and lying about Madison. Rachel's voice held a rare note of defiance. "Don't go soft on me now," Nathan warned. "Dad expects us to handle this. Unless you want to explain to him why his mother's fortune is going to the daughter who rejected everything he stands for, it just feels wrong, Nathan." Grandma clearly intended. "Grandma isn't capable of making those decisions anymore," he snapped. "We're protecting her assets for the family. Tomorrow she signs the new will, and this problem goes away. Make sure Madison doesn't interfere." I backed away silently, my recording safely saved. As I turned to leave, my elbow knocked a vase and it wobbled loudly. "Who's there?" Nathan called out. I quickly moved to the staircase and pretended to be coming down. "Just me," I called cheerfully. "Is there any more of that tea left?" Nathan appeared in the hallway, suspicion written across his face. "How long have you been up there?" "I just woke up from my nap," I lied smoothly. "Why were you talking about me?" "Don't be paranoid," he scoffed, but his eyes were cold. "Rachel and I were discussing Grandma's care. Something you've contributed nothing to." "Well, I'm here now," I said brightly. "And I'd love to help with dinner." Grandma mentioned wanting her favorite roast chicken. Nathan blocked my path to the kitchen. "Actually, Madison, I think it would be better if you found somewhere else to stay. Having you here is disrupting Grandma's routine. The doctor emphasizes how important routine is for her condition." "I'll be sure to ask her doctor about that when I meet him," I replied. Nathan's face hardened. "You're not meeting her doctor. You're leaving. Now." "Is everything okay?" Grandma Catherine appeared behind us, looking concerned. "Everything's fine, Grandma," I said quickly. "Nathan was just telling me about tomorrow's plans." "Oh yes, some lawyer is coming by," she said vaguely. "Something about papers to sign." Nathan shot me a warning look. "Nothing for Madison to worry about. Just routine estate planning. Madison should stay for dinner." Grandma insisted, taking my arm. "I've seen so little of her lately." The look of frustration on Nathan's face was almost worth the months of manipulation he'd orchestrated. Almost. That evening, I received a text from my mother. "Please don't cause trouble, Madison. Your father is very upset. Some things are better left alone." I turned off my phone and joined Grandma for dinner, determined to protect her from the vultures circling overhead. The vultures who happened to be my own family. I woke at dawn to the sound of voices downstairs. Pulling on a robe, I crept to the landing and saw my parents in the foyer, my father's face thunderous as he spoke in hushed tones with Nathan. My mother looked pale and worried, twisting her wedding ring as she always did when anxious. "She needs to go," my father was saying. "Today. Before she ruins everything." "I've tried," Nathan replied. "Grandma insists she stay. Then we'll need to deal with Madison directly." My father's voice held a threatening note I recognized from childhood. "Where is she now?" "Still sleeping, I think," Rachel said, joining them from the kitchen. "Dad, maybe we should reconsider this whole thing. Madison's recording conversations, taking photos of the medication. If she goes to the authorities, she won't." My father cut her off. "Not if she knows what's good for her." I retreated to my room, my mind racing. They were all here now, the full alliance against me. I texted Stephanie quickly, all hell breaking loose. "Family, all here. Recording everything." Then I hid my phone under the mattress and headed downstairs. The kitchen fell silent when I entered. My mother rushed to hug me, her embrace stiff and performative. "Madison, sweetheart, we didn't know you were visiting," she said. "Funny how no one ever tells me anything," I replied, pouring coffee. "Like Grandma's illness. Or family meetings." My father didn't bother with pretense. "We're having a private family discussion in the study after breakfast. About your grandmother's care." "Great, I'll join you," I said brightly. "That won't be necessary," he replied coldly. "Those of us who have been actually involved in her care have matters to discuss." Richard, my mother cautioned, glancing at me nervously. I sipped my coffee. "Is Grandma joining this meeting?" Nathan jumped in. "Grandma's resting. Her nurse is with her." I hadn't seen any nurse since arriving. Another lie. "I think I'll check on her after breakfast," I said. My father slammed his hand on the table. "Enough games, Madison. We all know why you're suddenly interested in your grandmother. The money." I met his gaze steadily. "Projection is a fascinating psychological phenomenon, isn't it, Dad?" Before he could respond, I excused myself and slipped upstairs, retrieving my phone from under the mattress. I opened my voice recording app and hit record, then tucked the phone into my pocket with the microphone exposed. Then I crept down the back stairs and positioned myself in the small alcove next to the study where I could hear everything. The family meeting revealed more than I'd imagined. My father, it seemed, had resented me since I was a teenager. "She deliberately rejected everything I built," he was saying. "Threw the family legacy back in my face to play with her drawings. And now Mother wants to reward her rebellion." "Richard, she's still our daughter," my mother said weakly. "A daughter who abandoned this family," he shot back. "Nathan has been here helping with your mother's care, managing her finances, taking her to appointments. What has Madison contributed?" "She did offer to help with her medications," Rachel said quietly. "So she can, what, document our private family arrangements and cause legal trouble." Nathan's voice was sharp. "She's already snooping around questioning the medications. I saw her taking pictures. The money isn't even the point," my father continued. "It's the principle. The art collection belongs in the family home, not with some artistic rebel in Chicago who'll probably sell it to fund her bohemian lifestyle." "I need that money," Dad Nathan admitted suddenly. "The Westridge development is underwater. The investors are threatening to pull out. If I can't shore up the finances, all the more reason to make sure Mother's assets are properly managed," my father said smoothly. "Which they will be once she signs the new will. Madison never needs to know the details." "She already knows," Rachel said. "Jessica told her everything." "A crash, like someone had knocked something over." "Jessica? How could she possibly—" "I showed her the group chat," Rachel admitted. "I felt guilty about excluding Madison." "You did what?" Nathan's voice was incredulous. "I never thought she'd tell Madison," Rachel defended herself. "I just needed someone to talk to about it." "Your sister's sentimentality may have cost this family millions," my father said coldly. "Now we need to deal with Madison." I'd heard enough. I retreated to the kitchen, stopped the recording, and saved it to my cloud storage. When they emerged from the study 15 minutes later, I was calmly eating toast at the kitchen island. The confrontation was immediate. All four of them surrounded me, a united front of family betrayal. "Madison," my father began, his reasonable businessman voice in full effect. "We need to discuss your grandmother's situation like adults." "I'm listening," I said, continuing to eat. "Your grandmother is very ill, more than you realize. Her cognitive function is declining rapidly." "Interesting. She seemed quite lucid when we discussed my upcoming exhibition yesterday." My father's jaw tightened. "Momentary clarity isn't the same as competence. The doctor has documented her condition extensively. The same doctor who approves the medication regimen Nathan has been managing," I asked innocently. Nathan stepped forward. What exactly are you implying? I'm not implying anything. I'm stating that Grandma's medication doesn't match her prescriptions. I've documented the discrepancies. My mother gasped. My father's face darkened. Madison, he said, his voice dangerously quiet. You have two choices. Leave this house and forget what you think you know, or face the consequences of interfering in matters you don't understand. Are you threatening me, Dad? I'm informing you of reality. Your grandmother's condition is being managed by professionals. Your brother has power of attorney for healthcare decisions. The new will simply reflects your grandmother's current wishes. Her wishes or yours. If you continue down this path, he warned, the family will have no choice but to address your history of instability. My blood ran cold. He was referring to my hospitalization after college for anxiety and depression, a condition largely caused by his emotional abuse. You wouldn't, I whispered. Try me, he replied. Mental health issues, Madison can cast doubt on all sorts of accusations, especially from someone with financial motivation to discredit her family. My mother reached for my hand. Sweetheart, please, just let this go. For the family, I pulled away from her. What family? The one that created a group chat specifically to exclude me. The one plotting to steal from my grandmother while she's vulnerable. Rachel at least had the decency to look ashamed. Nathan just smirked. You're outnumbered, he said simply. 4 against 1. Who do you think Grandma will believe? The granddaughter who visits twice a year or the family who takes care of her daily? That's enough. Grandma Catherine stood in the doorway, her expression troubled. I hadn't heard her approach, and from the looks on their faces, neither had they. Why are you all ganging up on Madison? Mom, my father recovered quickly. We were just discussing your care. Madison has some concerns. Then she should discuss them with me, she said firmly. Madison, come with me to the garden. The rest of you, give us some privacy. As I followed her outside, I felt the weight of 4 hostile gazes on my back. For the first time, I felt truly afraid. Not just for my grandmother's inheritance, but for my own safety in this house. I wondered how far they would go to protect their scheme. Later that evening, I called Stephanie from the bathroom water, running to mask my voice. Steph, I don't know if I can do this, I admitted, tears finally breaking free. They're all united against me. My own father threatened to use my mental health history against me if I don't back off. Oh, Maddie, she said softly. I'm so sorry. Do you want to come home? The question hung in the air. Did I want to run away, take the easy path, leave my grandmother to their manipulations? No, I said, finally wiping my tears. I can't abandon her. But God, Steph, I've never felt so alone. That night, a soft knock on my bedroom door startled me awake. I'd barricaded the door with a chair, paranoid that Nathan might try something while I slept. Heart pounding, I called out, "Who is it?" "It's Amelia Missis," Catherine's nurse, came a quiet voice. "May I speak with you? It's important." I hesitated, then moved the chair and opened the door slightly. A woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a practical ponytail stood in the hallway, looking nervously over her shoulder. "I'm sorry to disturb you," she whispered. "But I heard the confrontation earlier. I've been concerned about certain things happening in this house for months." I let her in, closing the door behind us. "Where have you been? I've been here 2 days and haven't seen you." "Your brother gave me the days off," she explained. "Said the family would care for Mrs. Catherine. I only came back tonight because I was worried. I've been documenting irregularities in her care." She opened a notebook and showed me detailed records, medications changed without doctor's orders, appointments scheduled. When Catherine was most confused, visits from me that Catherine asked about but was told were canceled. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "Because I took this job to care for people, not help rob them," Amelia said firmly. "Your grandmother adores you. She talks about you constantly. When she's properly medicated, she's quite clear about wanting you to have her art collection because you're the only one who truly appreciates it. Hope flared in my chest. Will you help me protect her? That's why I'm here, she confirmed. I've contacted the actual doctor, not the one your brother's been using. He's concerned about the medication changes. And I've been keeping Mrs. Catherine's real medication regimen in my apartment, giving her the correct doses when I'm on duty. We formulated a plan. Amelia would continue documenting the medication tampering while I would focus on gathering financial evidence. She confirmed my suspicions that the lawyer coming tomorrow was not your grandmother's regular attorney, but someone Nathan had arranged. One more thing Amelia said before leaving. Check the home office downstairs. There's a filing cabinet with financial records. Your brother spends hours in there when your grandmother is asleep. The next morning I waited until everyone was busy with breakfast preparations, then slipped into the office. The filing cabinet was locked, but I found the key taped under the desk drawer, an old hiding place my grandmother had shown me years ago. Inside, I discovered statements for accounts I didn't recognize with large transfers to Nathan's personal accounts and his struggling development company. Bank withdrawals totaling over $200 0 inches the past 6 months. Investment accounts liquidated without explanation. I photographed everything, my hands shaking with anger. Nathan hadn't just been planning to steal my inheritance, he'd already been embezzling from Grandma for months. When I emerged from the office, Rachel was waiting in the hallway. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice tight with suspicion. I decided to take a risk. "Rachel, I know we've never been close, but do you really want to be part of this? They're stealing from Grandma. Look at these." I showed her the photos on my phone. She stared at the evidence, her face paling. Nathan said he was just consolidating her accounts for easier management. Is that what you call transferring hundreds of thousands to his personal accounts and failing business? Rachel leaned against the wall. I didn't know it was this bad. I swear, Maddie. It's not too late to do the right thing, I urged her. Help me protect Grandma. For a moment, I thought I'd reached her. Then her expression hardened. I can't go against Dad and Nathan. You don't understand what they're like when crossed. I understand exactly what they're like, I said quietly. That's why I'm fighting them. Then you'll fight alone, she said, turning away. But I wasn't alone anymore. Amelia had contacted Catherine's real attorney, Michael Wilson, who was alarmed by what was happening. We arranged for him to coincidentally visit that afternoon before the fake lawyer Nathan had scheduled. When Mr. Wilson arrived, Nathan was furious. "We didn't request a meeting today," he said, blocking the lawyer's entrance. "Mrs. Baker asked me to review some documents," Mr. Wilson replied calmly. She was concerned about recent financial activities. "That's impossible. She hasn't used the phone unsupervised in weeks," Nathan blurted, then realized his mistake. Mr. Wilson raised an eyebrow. "Interesting. I'll be sure to note that in my report." From the top of the stairs, I watched this exchange with satisfaction. Amelia had taken Grandma Catherine out to the garden where they couldn't be overheard, and I'd used Grandma's private line to call her attorney. With professional authority, Mr. Wilson insisted on seeing Catherine alone. After he left, Nathan cornered me in the hallway. "You think you're clever," he hissed. "But you have no idea what you're dealing with." "I know exactly what I'm dealing with," I replied. A desperate man committing elder fraud, his face contorted with rage. For a moment, I thought he might hit me. Instead, he grabbed my arm hard enough to leave marks. "This ends today," he threatened. "One way or another." The psychological toll was mounting. Each night I barricaded my door, jumping at every sound. My family's gaslighting made me question myself despite the evidence. Was I overreacting? Was there an innocent explanation I was missing? But every time I doubted myself, I remembered the group chat messages, the financial records, and Amelia's documentation. This wasn't paranoia, this was protection. Grandma Catherine deserved someone fighting for her, and I was the only one willing to do it. Armed with evidence from Amelia and the financial documents, I worked with Mr. Wilson to implement our plan. We would document everything: the medication tampering, the financial exploitation, the systematic isolation of my grandmother. Then, when Nathan's fake lawyer arrived, Mr. Wilson would return with the proper authorities. But Nathan sensed the walls closing in. The morning after Mr. Wilson's visit, he announced that the timeline had changed. "The lawyer is coming this morning, not this afternoon," he informed the family at breakfast. Grandma Catherine wasn't present. Nathan claimed she needed rest. "Shouldn't we wait until Grandma's feeling stronger?" I suggested, trying to buy time. Mr. Wilson wasn't scheduled to return until 3 p.m. "The attorney's schedule changed," Nathan said smoothly. "He can only come at 11. I texted Amelia, who was at the pharmacy getting Catherine's proper medications. Nathan moved up timeline. "Lawyer coming at 11. Need you back as soon as possible." After breakfast, I tried to see Grandma but found her door locked. "She's sleeping," my mother insisted, blocking my path. "Then I'll wait until she wakes up," I said, sitting on the floor outside her room. Nathan emerged from his room, saw me, and made a phone call, speaking too quietly for me to hear. 20 minutes later, a man in an expensive suit arrived. He wasn't the elderly, distinguished Mr. Wilson, but a slick younger man with a practiced smile. "James Porter," he introduced himself. "Here to see Mrs. Baker about her revised will." My stomach dropped. This was happening too fast. "My grandmother is resting," I said, standing up. "Perhaps you could come back this afternoon." "I'm afraid that won't work with my schedule," Porter replied, looking to Nathan. "Shall we proceed?" Nathan produced a key and unlocked Grandma's door without knocking. Inside, I found her sitting in a chair, looking disoriented. Her eyes were unfocused, and she didn't immediately recognize me. "Grandma, it's Madison," I said, kneeling beside her. "Madison," she repeated vaguely. "My granddaughter is coming to visit soon." I shot Nathan a furious look. "What did you give her?" "Her regular medication," he said innocently. "Mr. Porter, shall we begin? Mother, the lawyer, is here about those papers we discussed." I pulled out my phone to call Mr. Wilson, but Nathan snatched it from my hand. "No interruptions during legal proceedings." "This isn't legal," I protested. "She's clearly not competent right now." "Madison," my father's voice came from the doorway. "You're becoming hysterical. Perhaps you should leave." "I'm not going anywhere," I insisted. Porter had spread documents on a small table. "Mrs. Baker, these are the updated will documents we discussed, reflecting your wishes to leave your estate to your son Richard, with provisions for Nathan and Rachel." Grandma looked confused. "What about Madison? My art is for Madison." "We discussed this, Mother," my father said soothingly. "Madison has her own successful career. She doesn't need your charity." I tried to intervene, but my father gripped my arm and physically pulled me toward the door. "Nathan will handle this," he said in my ear. "Stop making a scene." As Porter guided Grandma's hand to sign, I broke free and lunged for the papers. "Grandma, don't sign anything. They're manipulating you." Nathan blocked my path. "Get her out of here," he ordered my father. What happened next was a blur. My father dragged me from the room despite my struggles. Rachel watched from the hallway, her face torn between guilt and relief. My mother was nowhere to be seen. My father marched me downstairs and out the front door. "You've gone too far, Madison," he said coldly. "Get in your car and leave. Now." "I'm not abandoning Grandma," I said, fighting back tears. "You have no choice." He pulled out my phone, which Nathan had passed to him. "Your car keys are inside. You can have these back when you're on the road." I realized with horror that they'd planned this. With no phone and no keys, I was effectively stranded. When I tried to re-enter the house, I found the door locked. I pounded on the door, called Grandma's name through windows, even tried to enter through the garden. Every entrance was secured against me. Defeated, I sat on the front steps, head in my hands. The fake lawyer emerged an hour later, nodding cordially as he passed me. The documents were signed. I had failed. In desperation, I walked to the nearest bus stop, intending to find a way to contact Stephanie or Mr. Wilson. But when I reached my car to retrieve some cash from the glove compartment, I found all 4 tires slashed. This wasn't just about inheritance anymore. The level of orchestrated malice frightened me. My own family had drugged my grandmother, physically removed me, and vandalized my property to protect their scheme. I sat on the curb beside my disabled car and finally broke down. Sobs racked my body as the full weight of the betrayal crashed over me. I had tried so hard and failed so completely. My phone was gone. My car was disabled. The documents were signed. Grandma was being drugged into compliance. What more could I possibly do against the united front of my family? As dusk fell, I heard footsteps approaching. Instinctively, I tensed, ready to defend myself. But it was Rachel, looking nervous as she glanced back at the house. "Madison," she said quietly, "I've been thinking about what you showed me. The financial records." I looked up, tear-streaked and exhausted. "It's too late. They won." "Maybe not." She handed me my phone and car keys. "Nathan's friend isn't a real attorney. The documents aren't notarized yet. They're planning to do that tomorrow." I stared at her in disbelief. "Why are you helping me now?" "Because I saw Grandma after they gave her those pills. It wasn't right." She looked away. "And I found more financial records. Nathan's been stealing from Dad too, not just Grandma. He's desperate." Hope flickered faintly. "My car has flat tires." "I know. Nathan did it." She held up a set of keys. "Take my car. I'll tell them I'm going to get dinner and forgot my wallet. That should give you a couple of hours head start." As she handed over the keys, Rachel added, "I'm not brave like you, Madison. I can't openly defy them. But I don't want to be part of this anymore." It wasn't a full redemption, but it was a start. With renewed determination, I took Rachel's keys and formed a new plan. The battle wasn't over. It had just reached a turning point. Rachel's car gave me the mobility I desperately needed. First, I called Stephanie and updated her on the situation. Then I contacted Mr. Wilson, explaining what had happened. "The documents aren't valid without proper notarization," he confirmed. "And if Mrs. Baker was medicated, as you describe, we have grounds to challenge them regardless. I'll meet you at the house tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. sharp." Next, I called Amelia, who had been trying to reach me for hours. "They wouldn't let me in," she said, her voice tense. Claimed Mrs. Catherine was too tired for visitors. "I know they're manipulating her medication again. We're going back together," I told her. Tomorrow morning, I spent the night at Stephanie's apartment planning our counterattack. By morning, I felt ready. This wasn't just about an inheritance anymore. It was about protecting my grandmother from predators who happened to share my DNA. At 8:45 a.m., I parked Rachel's car a block from Grandma's house and met Amelia around the corner. Mr. Wilson arrived precisely at 9, accompanied by a colleague who specialized in elder abuse cases and a doctor who could evaluate Catherine's capacity. We approached the house together. I used my key, half expecting them to have changed the locks. They had an arrogance making them careless. Nathan's shock when he saw me enter with professionals in tow was almost comical. "What is this?" he demanded. "You're trespassing." "I have a key and Grandma's standing invitation," I replied calmly. "These people are here to see her. She's not receiving visitors." Nathan insisted, placing himself at the foot of the stairs. "Mr. Baker, Mr. Wilson," said formally, "I am Catherine Baker's attorney of record. I have serious concerns about documents she may have signed yesterday under duress." I'm here to speak with my client. She has a new attorney now, Nathan countered. No proper notice of termination has been filed, Mr. Wilson replied. And Mr. Porter is not licensed to practice estate law in this state, as my office confirmed this morning. Nathan's face paled slightly. He hadn't expected us to check credentials. Rachel appeared from the kitchen, her eyes widening when she saw me. Madison, you came back. Of course I did, I said, not mentioning her help to protect her position. Where's Grandma? Upstairs with Mom, she said. Dad's on his way, Nathan called him. Nathan glared at her. Shut up, Rachel. The doctor stepped forward. I'm here to evaluate Mrs. Baker's medical condition. I understand there may be some medication irregularities. You have no right, Nathan began, but was interrupted by Grandma Catherine's voice from upstairs. Madison, is that you, dear? I moved toward the stairs, but Nathan blocked my path, grabbing my arm roughly. You're not going up there. What happened next happened fast. I tried to push past him. He shoved me backward. I stumbled against the hallway table, knocking a vase to the floor. Nathan advanced on me, his face contorted with rage. You stupid, interfering bitch, he hissed. You have no idea what you've done. Step back from Miss Baker immediately, Mr. Wilson commanded, but Nathan was beyond reason. As he reached for me again, Rachel surprised us all by stepping between us. Stop it, Nathan. This has gone too far. Get out of my way, he growled, shoving her aside. That was when my mother and grandmother appeared at the top of the stairs, witnessing Nathan's aggression. Nathan Baker Grandma's voice cracked like a whip. What on earth are you doing? Nathan froze, suddenly aware of his audience. He attempted to compose himself. Grandma Madison has brought strangers into your house. I was protecting you. By assaulting your sister, Grandma's voice was ice cold. I may be old, Nathan, but I'm not blind. My mother looked horrified. Nathan stopped this immediately. Mrs. Baker, Mr. Wilson called up. I'm Michael Wilson, your attorney. There seems to be some confusion about documents you signed yesterday. Grandma looked confused. Documents. I don't recall signing anything yesterday. Nathan paled further. You were tired, Grandma. You might not remember. I seized the moment. Grandma, they've been giving you the wrong medications to make you confused. They created a family group chat to plot against me and plan to change your will. That's ridiculous, Nathan protested. I have proof, I said, pulling out my phone. The group chat, the financial records showing Nathan stealing from you, recordings of them planning it all. This is slander, Nathan insisted, looking desperately toward the front door. My father would arrive soon, and he was counting on reinforcements. But Grandma Catherine had had enough. I want to see this evidence, Madison. And Michael, it's good to see you. Please come up. Nathan made one last desperate attempt, lunging for the stairs. Grandma, they're manipulating you. I moved to block him, and he lost all control. His fist connected with my jaw, sending me sprawling. Grandma gasped in horror as Nathan stepped over me, heading for the stairs. That's when Amelia stepped in, surprising us all with her strength as she grabbed Nathan's arm. You will not harm these women anymore, she said firmly. Nathan tried to shake her off, raising his hand to strike her too. That was the final straw for my mother, who had been watching in stunned silence. Nathan, stop this at once, she screamed, running down the stairs. What has happened to you, to all of us? The front door burst open and my father strode in, taking in the scene with a quick glance. What is the meaning of this? He demanded. Richard, Grandma Catherine called down, her voice stronger than I'd heard in months. Your son just assaulted Madison. I want him removed from my house immediately. My father's face darkened. Mother, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, she cut him off. I've been hearing troubling things, Richard. About medications being changed. About my granddaughter being excluded from family communications. About my assets being mismanaged. Nathan looked to my father desperately. Dad, we need to get these people out of here. Now. But the tide had turned. Mr. Wilson was already on the phone with the police reporting the assault. The doctor had gone upstairs to examine Grandma, and Rachel, in a final act of conscience, was showing my mother the financial records on my phone. My mother's face crumpled as she scrolled through the evidence. "Richard," she said, her voice breaking, "did you know about this?" The look of guilt on my father's face was answer enough. Within an hour, the police had arrived. Nathan was escorted from the property with a restraining order pending. My father, after seeing the financial evidence, went pale and silent, realizing the legal jeopardy Nathan had placed them all in. The revised will was declared invalid by Mr. Wilson, who took great pleasure in shredding it personally. Most importantly, Grandma Catherine was properly examined by the doctor, who confirmed she had been over-medicated, likely to induce confusion. With Amelia supervising her correct medication regimen, her clarity returned remarkably quickly. That evening, after the professionals had left, I sat with Grandma in her sunroom, holding her frail hand. "I'm so sorry, Madison," she said, tears in her eyes. "I had no idea what they were doing." "It wasn't your fault," I assured her. "They took advantage of your trust. That's on them, not you." She squeezed my hand. "You fought for me when it would have been easier to walk away, just like you fought for your dreams instead of following the path laid out for you." Pride shone in her eyes. "That's why I wanted you to have my art. You understand its value beyond money." As the sunset painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, I felt the weight of the past days lifting slightly. The battle wasn't entirely over. There would be legal consequences, family rifts to navigate wounds that might never fully heal. But sitting there with Grandma Catherine, I knew we had won the most important victory. The truth had prevailed, and she was safe. Rachel knocked softly and entered, her face uncertain. "Can I join you?" Grandma patted the seat beside her. "Of course, dear." As Rachel sat down, I caught her eye and mouthed a silent thank you. Her small nod acknowledged the fragile alliance we'd formed, a tentative bridge across years of family dysfunction. The road ahead would be difficult, but for the first time in days I could breathe again. Sometimes family isn't defined by blood, but by who stands by you when the truth costs something. In that moment, sitting with my grandmother and sister watching the sunset, I began to understand what real family might look like. The days following the confrontation unfolded, like scenes from a movie I never wanted to star in. Nathan was charged with assault and financial elder abuse after the police reviewed my recordings and the financial documents. My father, while not directly charged, faced serious questions about his role in the conspiracy. Grandma Catherine's legitimate lawyer, Mr. Wilson, brought in a forensic accountant who uncovered the full extent of Nathan's embezzlement. Nearly $450,000 diverted from Grandma's accounts over the past 18 months. Most had gone to prop up his failing real estate development, with substantial amounts spent on luxury items for himself and Amber. "I want to press charges," Grandma said firmly when presented with the evidence. Her voice shook, but her resolve was iron. "He betrayed my trust completely." The family fractured in the aftermath. My mother oscillated between devastation and denial, calling me daily with tearful apologies followed by pleas to help Nathan. "He's still your brother," she would say. "Family forgives." "Forgiveness doesn't mean no consequences," I would reply. What he did was criminal. My father's response was different. After his initial anger subsided, he retreated into cold silence, communicating only through terse emails about family business matters. One such email arrived 5 days after the confrontation. "Madison, your interference has devastated this family. Nathan's business is collapsing. His reputation is ruined. I hope you're satisfied with your revenge." "Dad," I didn't reply. There was nothing to say to someone who still viewed justice as revenge. Rachel's position was the most precarious. Having secretly helped me at the end, she was neither fully complicit nor entirely innocent. She moved temporarily into Grandma's guest room, unable to face our parents, yet unwilling to completely sever ties. "I don't know who I am anymore," she confessed one evening as we sat in Grandma's kitchen. "I spent so many years just trying to stay on Dad's good side. I knew what they were doing was wrong, but I was too scared to stand up to them." "You did stand up eventually," I reminded her. "That counts for something." She looked down at her tea. "Not enough. Not nearly enough." Amelia continued as Grandma's nurse, her proper medication regimen restoring much of Catherine's clarity and energy. Under her care, Grandma began to thrive again, even returning to painting in her studio for the first time in months. Meanwhile, the legal machinery ground forward. I spent hours with detectives, prosecutors, and financial investigators recounting the same painful story repeatedly. Each telling scraped the wound raw again, leaving me emotionally drained. Stephanie was my rock during this period, letting me crash at her apartment in Chicago when I needed to return for work meetings. "You're the strongest person I know," she told me one night after I'd collapsed in tears. "You saved your grandmother when her own son wouldn't." "Then why do I feel so broken?" I asked. "Because they're your family," she said simply. "No matter what they did, that still means something." She was right. Despite everything, I found myself awake at night worrying about Nathan's children, who didn't ask for their father to be a criminal. About my mother, who had enabled terrible behavior, but was also its victim in many ways. Even about my father, whose twisted value system had poisoned our family for generations. 2 weeks after the confrontation, my phone buzzed with messages from Nathan. Somehow he'd gotten a new number the restraining order didn't cover. "You've ruined everything," the first one read. "My investors pulled out completely. Amber's parents are talking divorce. Was that your goal all along, to destroy me?" More messages followed, escalating in hostility and threats. I forwarded them to the detective handling the case, who arranged for the new number to be blocked as a violation of the restraining order. The threats shook me more than I wanted to admit. I jumped at unexpected noises. I checked the locks on my apartment door 3 times each night. I had nightmares where Nathan was standing over my bed, his face contorted with rage. "You're experiencing PTSD symptoms," the victim advocate assigned to my case explained gently. "It's common after family trauma. Would you consider talking to someone professional?" I resisted at first. The family legacy of hiding problems behind closed doors ran deep, but eventually agreed to see a therapist. Dr. Larson specialized in family trauma and betrayal. Our first session, I could barely speak through tears. By the third, I was beginning to understand the decades-long patterns that had led to this explosion. "Your father created a family system where loyalty was valued above ethics," she explained, "where image mattered more than truth. Your refusal to participate in that system made you both a threat and a scapegoat." "But why target Grandma?" I asked. "She never harmed anyone." "Your grandmother committed the ultimate sin in your father's eyes. She validated your choices. By leaving you her art collection, she was saying your path had value, contradicting everything your father had built his identity around." This perspective helped me understand, if not forgive, what had happened. I shared these insights with Grandma Catherine during our weekend visits, which became a healing ritual for us both. During one such visit, Grandma made a decision. "I'd like you to move in with me, Madison." "Just temporarily," she added quickly, "while we sort everything out. The house feels too empty, and frankly, I'd feel safer with you here." The request surprised me. My business was in Chicago, my apartment, my life. But looking at her stronger but still vulnerable, I couldn't refuse. "I can work remotely for a while," I said. "Maybe a few months." Her smile was worth any inconvenience. "Wonderful. We'll put you in the blue room with the morning light. Perfect for an artist." So I temporarily relocated, setting up a workspace in Grandma's sunroom. My graphic design clients were understanding about the arrangement, particularly after I explained the circumstances without unnecessary detail. One unexpected benefit of living with Grandma was watching her truly recover once free from Nathan's interference. Her memory improved dramatically. Her hands steadied. She began hosting her book club again, the members delighted to see the return of her sharp wit and insightful comments. The extended family's reaction to the scandal was mixed. Some cousins reached out with support, having experienced my father's controlling behavior themselves. Others took his side, believing his narrative that I had manipulated a confused elderly woman for financial gain. Jessica, who had first confirmed the conspiracy to me, faced particular backlash from that faction. Uncle Richard told everyone I betrayed the family she told me during a visit. But honestly, I'm glad I did. What they were doing was wrong. Thank you for being brave, I told her, hugging her tightly. A month into my stay with Grandma, my father requested a meeting. I suggested a public place, a cafe in neutral territory, and brought Rachel for moral support. He arrived immaculately dressed as always, but the events had aged him. New lines creased his face and his hair seemed grayer. Madison, he began stiffly, I've come to discuss the family situation. Which aspect? I asked coolly. Nathan's criminal charges, the embezzlement, or the conspiracy to manipulate Grandma's will. He flinched visibly. I understand you're angry, but surely you can see this situation has spiraled out of control. Nathan made mistakes, yes, but prison won't solve anything. It wasn't a mistake, Dad. It was calculated fraud and elder abuse. He's still your brother, he insisted. Family stands together in crisis. Family doesn't drug an elderly woman to steal her assets, I replied. Family doesn't create secret group chats to exclude members they're plotting against. Family doesn't slash tires and physically assault people. He shifted uncomfortably. Perhaps things went too far. But your grandmother is hardly destitute. The financial impact is minimal for someone of her wealth. Rachel, who had been silent until now, leaned forward. Dad, do you even hear yourself? This isn't about money. It's about what's right. He looked at her with thinly veiled contempt. I expected this from Madison. She's always rejected family values. But you, Rachel, I thought you understood loyalty. I do, she said quietly. I'm just learning who actually deserves it. The meeting ended with nothing resolved. My father left with a parting shot. When this legal vindictiveness destroys what remains of this family, remember you chose this path. Watching him walk away, I felt a complex mixture of grief, anger, and strange relief. For the first time, I had faced him without crumbling, without accepting his distorted version of reality. You okay? Rachel asked as we left. I considered the question carefully. No, I admitted. But I think eventually I will be. That evening, Grandma hosted an impromptu dinner for what she called the survivors, me, Rachel, Amelia, and herself. As we shared a meal in the dining room that had witnessed so many tense family gatherings, the atmosphere felt different, lighter, more authentic. To truth, Grandma Catherine toasted, raising her glass. However painful, it's always worth fighting for. As our glasses clinked, I realized we were creating something new from the ashes of what had been destroyed. Not a perfect family. We carried too many scars for that, but perhaps a more honest one. One built on choice rather than obligation. On respect rather than fear. And maybe, just maybe, that was worth all the pain. 6 months passed, bringing seasonal changes to Grandma Catherine's garden and gradual healing to those of us caught in the family explosion. What had begun as a temporary arrangement, me, living in the blue bedroom, stretched into a semi-permanent situation, with me splitting my time between Chicago and my grandmother's house. Nathan's legal troubles culminated in a plea deal, 15 months in a minimum security facility plus restitution for the embezzled funds. The family was spared a public trial, but the whispers in our social circle did their own kind of damage. My father's carefully constructed image of familial perfection lay in ruins. My mother, after months of emotional whiplash, finally began therapy of her own. I enabled so much, she admitted during a careful, fragile coffee meeting. I thought keeping the peace was the same as doing what's right. You were caught in it too, Mom, I said, finding compassion I hadn't known I possessed. Dad's control, the family dynamics, it affected all of us. Not you, she said, with unexpected insight. You always saw through it even as a child. That's why you were such a threat. With Grandma's complete support, Mr. Wilson executed a new ironclad will. I was named not only beneficiary of the art collection, but executor of the entire estate. The responsibility weighed heavily, but it was a weight of trust, not burden. You're the only one who's proven trustworthy, Grandma explained when I expressed concern about the further family friction this would cause. Besides, you have good judgment and a strong moral compass. I sleep better knowing you'll handle things when I'm gone, which won't be for many years yet if I have anything to say about it. Her health continued to improve with proper care. At 82, she would always have good and bad days, but the deliberately induced confusion was gone. She returned to her community boards, her book clubs, and most importantly, her art. One day, I found her in her studio carefully wrapping a small Kandinsky in acid-free paper. "What are you doing?" I asked, helping her with the delicate corners. "I've decided I don't want to wait until I'm gone. For you to have the collection," she said, matter-of-factly. "I'm giving you pieces now, while I can see you enjoy them." Tears sprang to my eyes. "Grandma, you don't have to do that." "I know," she said, patting my hand. "That's what makes it a joy rather than an obligation. Besides, your apartment walls are shamefully bare for an artist." The irony wasn't lost on me. The inheritance that my family had conspired to deny me was being freely given piece by piece, no strings attached. The first painting, the Kandinsky that had inspired my artistic journey, now hung in my Chicago apartment, a daily reminder that some gifts come with love, not expectations. My relationship with Rachel deepened into something neither of us had expected: genuine sisterhood. Having taken the brave step of defying our father, she found her own voice strengthening. She moved out of our parents' influence, took a teaching position she'd always wanted but never pursued, and started making decisions based on her own values rather than our father's approval. "I spent 30 years being what everyone else wanted," she told me, over one of our regular Sunday brunches. "I'm finally figuring out who Rachel actually is." My father remained distant, pride preventing him from truly acknowledging the moral bankruptcy of the conspiracy. We maintained minimal civil contact primarily through my mother. It was a wound that might never fully heal, but I'd made peace with that possibility. Therapy continued to be a lifeline as I processed the betrayal and its aftermath. Dr. Larson helped me understand that while forgiveness might eventually come, boundaries were essential regardless. "Forgiveness doesn't mean allowing the same harmful patterns back into your life," she explained. "It means freeing yourself from the anger that binds you to the injury." I took that wisdom to heart, gradually feeling the white-hot rage cool into something more manageable, a sadness for what might have been tempered with gratitude for what was saved. In a move that surprised everyone, I used a portion of an advance inheritance from Grandma to establish the Catherine Baker Arts Scholarship for disadvantaged youth interested in graphic design and visual arts. The first recipients were selected that spring, 5 talented teenagers who reminded me of my younger self, full of creativity and determination. "You're building something meaningful from all this pain," Grandma said at the scholarship awards ceremony, squeezing my hand proudly. "I learned from the best," I told her, kissing her cheek. The final confrontation with my father came unexpectedly during a rare visit to my parents' house to help my mother sort through old family photographs. My father found us in the study, surrounded by albums and memory boxes. He stood in the doorway, rigid with disapproval. More family artifacts being redistributed without my input. Just organizing, Richard, my mother said quickly, her peacemaking instincts kicking in. Actually, I said, standing up to my full height, we're preserving family history. Something you seemed willing to rewrite when it suited you. He flushed dark red. You've made your point, Madison. You've won. Nathan's career is destroyed. My reputation is in tatters. Your grandmother thinks I'm a monster. Are you satisfied now? For a moment, I felt that familiar childhood fear, the terror of standing up to the family patriarch. But I wasn't that little girl anymore. This was never about winning, Dad, I said steadily. It was about protecting Grandma from exploitation. It was about truth. The consequences you're facing aren't my revenge. They're the natural result of the choices you and Nathan made. So self-righteous, he scoffed. You've always thought you were better than this family. Not better, I corrected him. Just different. And that difference shouldn't have been treated as a threat. He stared at me for a long moment, then turned to leave. At the door, he paused. Your grandfather would be disappointed in how this turned out. Perhaps I acknowledged. But Grandma Catherine isn't. And ultimately, it was her life, her assets, and her wishes that deserved protection. He left without another word. My mother looked torn between following him and staying with me. It's okay, I told her gently. Go talk to him. Just don't let him convince you that standing up for what's right was the wrong choice. She hugged me tightly. I won't. I'm learning too. Then she added, he might never change, Maddie. I know, I said. I've made peace with that. And surprisingly, I had. The fantasy of my father suddenly recognizing his errors and becoming the parent I'd always wanted had finally faded, replaced by acceptance of who he actually was. It was its own kind of freedom. That evening, I hosted dinner at Grandma's house, a new tradition we'd established. The table that once held tense family gatherings now welcomed what Stephanie jokingly called the chosen family. Grandma, Catherine, Rachel, Amelia, Jessica, Stephanie herself, when she visited, and me. I've been thinking, Grandma announced over dessert, about what family really means. She looked around the table thoughtfully. It's not blood or last names. It's who shows up, who tells you the truth, who stays when things get difficult. To chosen family, Rachel toasted, raising her glass. To truth, added Jessica. To new beginnings, I contributed. As our glasses clinked, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in years. The path to this moment had been painful beyond imagining, but the destination, this honest, authentic connection, was worth the journey. The inheritance that my family had schemed to control had never really been about money or art. It was about recognizing value in creativity, in independence, in moral courage. The true inheritance Grandma Catherine had given me was the strength to stand alone when necessary, the wisdom to recognize genuine allies, and the courage to fight for what's right even when it hurt. Some families are born. Others are built deliberately and carefully from the wreckage of what came before. As I looked around at the faces of those who had chosen truth over convenience, love over exploitation, and courage over compliance, I knew which kind was more precious. The story that began with a devastating discovery on my mother's phone had come full circle. Not to perfect resolution, life rarely offers those, but to something genuine and hard-won, a family defined by choice rather than obligation, by love rather than fear, by truth rather than appearance. And that, I realized with profound gratitude, was the greatest inheritance of all. Thank you so much for watching this story until the end. If you've ever had to stand up for what's right against your own family, let me know in the comments below. Would you have done what Madison did, or would you have handled things differently? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if this story resonated with you. Remember, sometimes the family we choose is more important than the family we're born into. Stay strong, and I'll see you in the next video.